Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast. It's the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, social media, sports, pop culture, everything really, depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guests from The Kissing Booth and The Kissing Booth 2, which just dropped on Netflix. We are with Joshua Eady. Joshua, welcome to Popternative, man.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
No problem. I mean, it's pretty cool because, you know, it's pretty fresh right now. But the first thing that kind of comes to mind is I'm sure the cast and crew of Kissing Booth. I mean, a lot of you probably didn't expect that they were going to make a sequel for it.
No, we didn't. Look, things got left pretty open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone kind of had like the hope that there was going to be another one.
Yep.
And then I remember, I think it was a year later, I got the phone call. I can recall exactly where I was when I got the phone call, and they were like, "Listen, by the way, we're filming number 2." And I kind of lost it a little bit and celebrated, and yeah, everyone was super stoked to kind of, you know, be one big happy family again.
Absolutely. We'll get into Kissing Booth obviously, but specifically for you, I mean, I've noticed, you know, you do wear many hats in the entertainment industry. You don't just act, you know, you produce, you do a lot of that stuff as well. When did you decide that like storytelling was something you wanted to do? When did that start for you, Joshua?
Actually, dude, like, credit to you. I love the way that you asked that question, because for me, you know, the thing that attracted me at the beginning was the fact of storytelling, right? That was what I wanted to do. I got into acting when I was like a lighty, like when I was a kid. I was like, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old, and started performing in like school plays and school productions and stuff like that. And I don't know, just really enjoyed entertaining people.
Yep.
And started doing, you know, drama classes, acting classes, all the extra, you know, curricular activities that I could to kind of get better at it. And then being from South Africa, I did some research that Charlize Theron made it in acting through modeling. And I was like, well, I guess that's what I got to do. So I applied to a whole bunch of modeling agencies, and all of them said no except for one.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, you know, that's definitely the one I'm going with. And I modeled for 2 years and got my lucky break through that. So the second I got the break, I kind of bailed out the modeling industry and pursued acting further. Yeah.
And you know, Kissing Booth, obviously, you know, characters like Joey King obviously are the ones that it kind of focuses around, but there's a lot of really cool cast members that you kind of see that, you know, have screen time here and there, and your character Tuppen might not be one of the biggest characters, but we talked about it before. I mean, especially like in the first one, like you're part of that kind of like, you kind of rock the boat a little bit, you know what I mean? With like and the detention and everything and asking her out. Like, it's kind of interesting, an important part, Tuppen.
Yeah, it was funny coming into that dynamic because I'd never met Jacob or Joey, obviously, up until we started filming. We had to do a table read. And I remember walking into the room and meeting both of them for the first time. And the immediate dynamic was this, like, I'm looking at Jacob like, you're such a big dude. He's looking at me like, you're such a big dude. And, you know, we obviously, you know, from day one, just, you know, got along and became really good friends. And same with Joey. And that dynamic came very naturally because everyone gets along so well. And everyone, like I said, just somehow clicks. And getting to play the guy that kind of, you know, stirs the pot and gets up to trouble is always fun.
For sure. In terms of the sequel, this is a 2-part question, Joshua. I mean, specifically for Tuppen and then specifically about the Kissing Booth 2, talk a little bit about kind of the growth and transformation of like the characters and the storyline from Kissing Booth 1 to Kissing Booth 2, specifically with your character, and then in general with like the storyline and the dynamic of everything.
So I think for my character, look, he's just a guy, you know, that has the best intentions, that has the sweetest heart, and just finds himself making really shitty mistakes, you know, just, you know, being that typical high school guy, you know. And that was the kind of direction that I went in, was just looking back at my high school and all my friends at that time, the mistakes that we were making and the things that we were learning and how noisy and loud we were, and, you know, like always in detention, always getting up to stuff. That was, you know, the kind of overall character that had to be portrayed, because that's such an important aspect of high school, right? At that age. everyone can recall those people from high school and those people who I had to be. And the dynamic from the first to the second movie was kind of a little bit of growing up, you know, and kind, you know, obviously he comes back and apologizes and kind of says, look, you know, it is what it is. I'm sorry, and I'm happy for you where you are now. You know, you guys rock, and the two of you deserve to be together. So for Tappen, that was kind of the growth. I think for characters overall, what's so important about the movie and why people resonate with it so well is because it reflects society and reflects the high school lifestyle so well. They can find through all the various different characters in the movie, they can find something to relate to and something that speaks to them.
Yeah.
And I think moving from movie 1 to movie 2, it was that crucial stage of growing up and, you know, real life issues of friendship and relationships and college and high school. And it kind of just took that step further into that next stage of life for people.
For sure. So Kissing Booth 2 gets dropped on Netflix. People watch it. People are loving it. And then it was announced that Kissing Booth 3 is going to be created.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that? That's crazy. It's awesome, but I did not see that coming. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, dude, it was, I actually had no idea that they were going to announce it that soon.
Okay.
And yeah, it was like, I was watching the YouTube live and they were like, hey, we have a secret. And I was like, what could the secret be? Because I've been trying to keep it in. I've been trying not to tell people. And they were
because you guys knew, right? Like you guys knew that you were making Kissing Booth 3, yeah.
Yeah, I've been lying this whole time up until Sunday. Sorry, guys. Yeah, the whole way through I've been saying, no, you know, we're not even thinking of a third. I don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, we've already done it and it's ready to go. And well, hopefully soon we'll be ready to go. So 2021, that'll be another big one.
It's funny because I interviewed an actor named Chad Michael Collins, and he does a lot of the sniper movies, and he's Alex in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And when I interviewed him last year, you know, we were talking, and I was like, you know, could there be another sniper film? And he's like, yeah, like who knows? Like maybe there will be one. And then it came back this time, and like he already wrapped it when he came on my show, but he couldn't talk about it.
There we go.
Like he lied like perfectly.
Yeah.
Is that kind of a challenge for an actor as well? Because like there's obviously like I feel like that's a challenge. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff going on. You kind of want to promote all that stuff. You know what I mean? But like it's a game. You know what I mean? It's like scheduling and NDAs and everything. Like, what do you think about that side of the business rather than the actual kind of showing up on the call sheets, like the business side of everything, Josh?
That's a cool question because, you know, no one ever really thinks about that, which is really cool of you to ask. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm lucky to do what I do. You know, I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in, and you know, this is always what I've wanted to do. So for me, it's my happy place. You know, for me, it's my creative space, and any project that I'm lucky enough to be a part of, it's so difficult for me to keep quiet about it. Mm-hmm. You know, so I get home to family and I'm like, hey, everyone sit down in the lounge. I'm about to tell you something because I need to get this off my chest. All of you listen, we actually filmed the third one. Don't tell anyone. If you do, I'm in trouble. You know, and I keep it at home and everyone chats at home, and it's tricky. It's really difficult, you know, especially everyone asking questions and everyone wanting to hear and there being demand. The movie wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for the fans. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
So fans asking, we really want a third, we really want a third. The amount of love that they've given the movie and everyone, you know, involved in it, they deserve a third one. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we got to give that to them.
So here's a question I have that I think you'll find interesting. I've asked a lot of people this. I mean, you look at the Kissing Booth, the cast, all, you know, the high school kids. You guys as actors, you are young, up and coming actors. You know what I mean? You're in your 20s, you know, and you know you're working and everything. And I find you guys are in an interesting spot because you know you are young enough that you are still learning and you look up to people in the industry as well, and you want to get better and everything. But at the same time, you're in these movies like the Kissing Booth, Joshua, where you have people that are also looking up to you who want to be kind of in the footsteps and get a role one day like Tuppen or kind of act, and people look up to you. So at the same time, they're looking up to you and you're looking up to people as well. You're growing. I talk about that with like, you know, a lot of college athletes as well, because it's like that as well. Have you ever thought about that? You're like a middleman a little bit.
Yeah, these are questions. So thank you for these. I think it's a weird space to be in, right? Because the position that I've always found myself in, and maybe it's a little bit like self-inflicted, but the position that I've always found myself in is that, obviously you always want to do more and you always want to achieve more, everything that comes your way, as I said, is a blessing, and you're very lucky because this industry is extremely difficult. And the stuff that I have done, I feel like touches on a very small part of what I actually want to reflect. There's so much more that I want to showcase and I want to learn and I want to dive into. And there's so much more that I have to learn. I think I've it's been a drop in the ocean for me. Yeah. But people it's crazy for me to think that people look at the position I'm in and go, I want to be there. And I'm like, you genuinely can, yeah, it blows my mind. Even hearing you say it, that people look up to you and want to be where you are. I'm like, what?
But they do. And the thing is, I think man, if you think about it, it's the perfect scenario. I mean, the Kissing Booth, Netflix, that perfect kind of demographic of all these amazing, TV and films that came out on Netflix. It's this big kind of family and big kind of fan base, you know what I mean? And the Kissing Booth is right in there, right? It's it's huge. And I find a lot of shows, for example, Outer Banks, right? I've seen it online. That's a show that I interviewed quite a few people from that show. And I definitely see a lot of the Outer Banks fans, they're tweeting and Instagramming about Kissing Booth too. So there's that really? There is that overlap, and I feel that's very important, and it should not go unspoken about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Outer Banks was that show that during lockdown and COVID and everything, I watched episode 1, and I was like, I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
It was funny. I was doing that show hit quick. With the popularity, because I was talking to, Rudy Pankow, who played JJ, and Drew Stark, who played Rafe, and I did an interview of them 2 days after it came out. 2 days. It came out, or maybe a bit more, it came out on the Friday, and I think I did an interview with them Monday or the Tuesday, and it was the show was out for 3 months. It was insanity.
It's and looking at obviously everyone gives a really good performance. There's something so catchy about that storyline and about the whole outline of that just makes you want to be a kook and be a part of the story that they're telling. Mm-hmm. And especially Rudy that plays JJ, dude, his performance, especially that dynamic with his dad, is so powerful.
I've interviewed his dad as well.
Oh,
Gary
really?
Weeks, yeah, and that was a really cool. They had some that scene in the car is insane when he's hitting him. That he said that was so hard to do. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sure, dude. I can imagine. But then at the same time, there's so much in that scene that I can guarantee people around the world that watch that and sadly can find things that they relate to in their family situation. And it's great as an artist and as an actor to get to give that to people. To provide people with that sense of empathy that they can find something to relate to, almost like a freedom by investing themselves in that show.
I know, absolutely. It is insane. There's so much content out there right now. What do you kind of think about it's more of a general question, but what do you think about the current landscape of content out there? I mean, the quarantine made it a lot different because people had more time to watch everything. But before quarantine, I thought there's so many shows out there, and I don't have time to watch them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you kind of think about the landscape of it? I mean, they're calling it the streaming wars as well, right? Where everyone's kind of has a streaming platform. It is the golden age of television as well.
Well, I think there's so many young and I guess older people out there that are so freaking talented, that have worked really hard, that deserve that exposure, that deserve to be seen. And I like that streaming platforms have now given people the chance to do that. Streaming wars, dude, that's high up level, this one versus that one. I think COVID and lockdown flipped the world upside down completely.
Yep.
The industry took a massive knock, as did everything else.
Yep.
But I like that there's more ideas and there's more, storylines, more plots, more characters, more people getting invested and involved in this industry and coming out and telling more stories and providing people with more. You know, I think it's a massive demand. And it, you know, sometimes I feel like content gets a bit too filtered and there's too much. And what do you watch? What do you not? Being said, there's so much talent out there, and there's so many good projects that are in the works and were in the works and will continue to go that are so special.
No, that's a very good, well thought answer, and it kind of shows that. No, seriously, man, it kind of shows that, like, you know, that doesn't have to always be like the dog eat dog. Like I see there's a lot of actors that support other actors that are on other shows, because everyone kind of assumes, oh, it's like competition, everyone's up for themselves. But I do see on social media, you know, this like crop of like storytellers that help each other out and promote each other. I just love to see it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool to see a lot of the young actors that, you know, I'm friends with and that I admire and that I follow. It's also nice to see them invest themselves into other forms of art as well.
Yep.
You see so many actors that are into photography and painting, and, you know, whether it's writing or it's producing or it's filming or whatever it is, it kind of gives you a little bit of insight into the fact that, you know, the art of storytelling and conveying emotion and being like an artist at heart is far from lost. There's still so many people out there that really just love what they do and love art and love creating. I think that's the most enticing thing to our industry, right? Is just the freedom to create and evoke.
For sure. No, there's so much good stuff out there as well. Joshua, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Dude, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's a great show. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So plug away. Where can people follow you on social media? And they can watch the Kissing Booth 2 now on Netflix, correct?
Yeah, you can watch Kissing Booth 1 and 2 on Netflix. The third one will be coming out in 2021. So that's bigger and better and even more, believe it or not. You can find me on Instagram at Just Blame Josh. And you can also find me at my YouTube channel, which is Storytime with Josh Eady, where I do some podcasting and some other stuff there. Just sit down and chat with friends.
Yeah, check that out. That's awesome. I like that stuff.
Yeah, thank you, dude. It's just been another outlet, you know, to just kind of share more and do more, you know, in the free time we have.
Absolutely. Well, seriously, congrats on two things. Congrats to you and the cast and crew for Kissing Booth 2. And congrats to you, the cast and crew, for Kissing Booth 3. Thank
you. I appreciate it, dude. It's been such a special experience. And, you know, the whole team invested, the crew, you know, from makeup to on-set to costume to this to that to the cast. One big happy family. I love all of them with all my heart. As do I, the crew. Something very, very special that kind of came together. So thank you to the fans for loving it, for supporting it, for watching it over and over and over again. I don't think people can understand how grateful I am. I'm constantly waking up day by day filled with gratitude. So thank you for the love, guys. I appreciate it.
Amazing. No, seriously. And it's cool too, because it's like, you know, you talk about like TV shows like Outer Banks, like when is it going to get renewed and everything. This is a movie and there's 3 of them. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, it's awesome to think of.
That's awesome.
It's unique. It's a unique thing, but it's
really good.
But it's like, it's a unique thing for you, the cast and crew of Kissing Booth. If you think about it, it's a unique kind of thing in the entertainment industry where you don't think about much. You know what I mean?
This was purely, you know, every step of the way going through this process, it's just been one massive gem. We've all been so genuinely so lucky that it wasn't 1, wasn't 2, it was 3.
Yeah. And
it received the love and the attention that it has. It's unheard of.
I know, man. Well, it's a wave, and you guys are riding it, and you guys deserve to ride it, and I hope you ride it and continue to ride it, man. Seriously.
Thank you, dude. We will. We'll keep riding that wave and excited for what's to come.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. You can check out Joshua Eady as Tuppen in Kissing Booth 1 and Kissing Booth 2 that just dropped on Netflix. Until next time, this is Joshua Eady and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.